If you've gone a little too hard with your truck and you broke a rear axle, or you're simply just doing some preventative maintenance for your 2005 to 2015 Toyota Tacoma, this 6-lug pre-pressed rear axle for the passenger side will be a good choice for you. Now, this is going to be a direct replacement and a more affordable option compared to the dealer premium if you have either, again, taken some damage or you just want to refresh your drivetrain to maintain confidence when you're driving, whether you're on or off the road. This will be a direct bolt-in replacement featuring the same build as the one right out of the factory, and it will be completely pressed together as it says in the name, so you're not going to have to do any extra work when it comes time to install this. Now, while this is not going to provide a huge performance benefit like other high-performance choices would, this will be sure to refresh the hub, bearings, and replace the previous and probably tired old shaft with one that's going to offer you better longevity than your current one. Now, in addition to the shaft replacement, the bearing replacement will also offer a huge improvement and may not be noticeable, but they can get beat up over time, especially from dirt, sand, or really any other gunk getting in, and this is going to completely clean that slate. Now, this is going to be made of a carbon steel material with a protective coating to prevent any rust from forming, and it is going to come with the same bolt pattern, a 6 by 5.5 inch bolt pattern to be exact, so it's not going to require you to upgrade your wheels or make any other modifications. Now, again, it also is going to come fully pre-assembled out of the box, including an ABS sensor ring, wheel studs, bearings, and seals, so you don't have to do any additional work or reuse any other components from your factory system. Now, this will come in at about $600, and compared to others in the category, again, this is going to be completely pressed together and come with all the components you need, so you're not going to have to worry about a sometimes difficult and detailed assembly if you're really not set up for it. Now, we'll also save you some cash compared to the premium dealer pricing when you're looking at the bigger picture here, especially if you're tackling this job yourself. Now, I think if you need a fix and a refresh for your factory components, you're content with the performance that you've seen so far, and you want to save some money in the long run, then this is going to be for you. Now, this install will definitely be for the Tacoma owner with some mechanical experience, getting a 3 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and with the right tools and setup, it should take you about 3 hours or so to get this bolted up. Now, speaking of the install, one of our customers here has actually installed this on their Tacoma and is going to walk you through that process step by step, so that is going to wrap it up for what I have to say. Let's go ahead and get into that install.
These are the tools that we needed for this job. We used the Milwaukee Impact, an extension, 19mm socket. That was to get the wheels off, wheel spacers if you have them. At that point, we used our dead blow hammer here to get the drum off. We used a 10mm socket to pull the emergency brake cable, the wheel cylinder, and the ABS sensor, which broke, but you'll need 10mm for that. Actually, the ABS sensor was an 11mm. Then to get the actual axle off, we used the 14mm socket and the 14mm ratchet wrench. We also used the dead blow hammer to remove the old axle. We used the seal puller and the seal installation tool, as well as a hammer to install the new seal. We used Brake Clean PV Blaster to make sure everything was clean, rags. To top off the differential, we used a 24mm for the drain and for the refilling plug and a 1/2 inch ratchet. To torque our axle, we used a 3/8 torque wrench, 50 foot-pounds. And to put everything back together, wheels and spacers, we used a 1/2 inch torque wrench, 83 foot-pounds, and a 19mm socket. And if you want to use a big pry bar, that helps you to torque the wheel spacers and the tires once you have everything back together. And for bleeding the brakes, we used our little bleeding hose and a 10mm wrench to get that done. But these are the tools that we used for this job, not too difficult. Also use the flathead screwdriver for prying things apart, getting those springs in. Use them on the clips too. So these are all the necessary tools. And obviously a jack stands to make sure you're working safely. Also got some old wheel spacers on the truck here. If you don't have spacers on your truck at this point, you'll be able to start taking the drum off. Aluminum against steel. So I'm gonna go grab my deadbolt hammer. Seems to work pretty well to just hit the drum. Pop right off once you do that. I like to keep all my lug nuts inside of the wheel spacer here, so I know what's going on. That should have loosened up our drum here. And I don't know if you can see in the video. You can right here. This is all differential fluid has been leaking out. So we got a bad seal in here. Give this a couple more whacks. There we go. See all the oil, it's all gummed up inside of there. That is from a leaking wheel seal. And it appears that this one is leaking on the inside. There's an inner seal and an outer seal. The inner seal will be replacing, but the outer seal comes pressed on the axle. That's why we bought new ones, so we don't have to try and press the axle shaft off of the backing plate and press the bearings on. So to get to the axle, we need to take the brakes off. Just gonna get a couple things. Some needle nose pliers, some side cutters. There's a couple pins that hold these on. Should be able to grab these, push them in, twist them off. Sometimes it's kind of tricky. Now because this wheel seal is leaking, I'm gonna need to replace the shoes. It's a good time to do the wheel cylinder as well, up top here. But these shoes are definitely no good anymore when they're all oil soaked like that. So get this other pin off here. Then there's a couple of small springs that you can just pull off. There's a larger spring up here. It's a little more difficult to get off. Since all of this is being replaced, it doesn't matter if you break anything. All these off. I'm gonna grab a rag over here. This also would be a good time to replace your differential fluid if you'd like. It's a 24 millimeter drain plug. Now I'll take a video down there once we top it off. But for now, this stuff off. Right here you have your parking brake cable. That also needs to get pulled off for the time being. It just slides through this little groove right here. I don't know if you can see that very well. We are saving the parking brake cable though, so be nice to that at least. Alright, totally soiled shoes. Look at all the oil coming off of that. That's why we are here replacing these. So, the parking brake cable is held on with two 10mm nuts here. So I'm going to grab a socket real quick and we'll pull that bracket off. You can use an impact if you'd like. This impact is definitely overkill. You may need to put an extension on to get in there. Alright, and then I like to have a little box that you can put what you're saving inside of it. Got my box. Right here is your parking brake bracket. You can take a screwdriver or a chisel and pop that off. So we got our screwdriver, hammer, stick behind it. And that pops right out of there. And then we want to slide this parking brake cable out of here. We have to take all this off because we're pulling the entire axle assembly out, so nothing can be attached. So now would be a good time to grab some penetrating lubricant. And we want to spray it on these nuts. There's 4 nuts that are holding the entire axle assembly on. And then you can also hitch your brake line here, and then if you need to go and loosen the other side, I'll most likely be replacing this brake line here. Probably won't include that in this video though. So yeah, good time to spray down all your nuts. You want to get this wheel cylinder off here. This brake line is a 10mm. And I might move the camera so we can watch behind it. I'm going to stop it and then we'll reset up in a second here. Alright, so we're going to work on getting this brake line off next. It's probably been on here since the truck was new. So there's a chance that this may not be savable. Looks like it's not gonna go. If I had a line wrench, oh, it did break free, okay. It's a good day. Nice. So we're gonna get this line off then. Either way, I'm going to be replacing this line. It's a good time to do it. The truck is opened up. Easy access back here. But it makes it a lot easier if you can can just break it free right here without having to cut it. Now the wheel cylinder is held on with two 10mm bolts, just like the parking brake cable. So we'll pull those out. Again, this impact is way overkill, but it's what I have on hand here. So wheel cylinder is unbolted. We can now loosen this line up. And for now, we're gonna leave this line on here. Actually gonna tighten it back up so we don't lose a bunch of brake fluid in the meantime. Alright. There we go. So next step is to break free the four 14mm nuts back here. So you can use a ratchet and a 14mm socket, but in this one by the shock, it might be a little tricky to get something in there. So you can use a wrench for that too. So we'll break these loose, and hopefully these nuts don't strip out on this. So that's good. Sometimes it helps to have a dead blow. Get that first hit out of the way. Looks like we're gonna be able to get a ratchet down in here, which is good. But I don't think we'll get the nut off. The ratchet. So we'll use a ratcheting wrench. Could be worse. Alright. Just got one left here on this back side. This one. Alright, we're good. I have had it where this back nut rounds off. I don't know if it's from the salt spray, but in that case, you'll have to cut off the stud there. You can still get it out. The new axle assembly comes with new studs, so you don't have to worry about saving that. My ratchet's hitting on the welds of the axle here, so swap over to a wrench there. Alright, so all of that came free pretty nicely actually. There's one other thing here. I'll grab the camera so you can see. But right in here you have your ABS sensor, and if you can see, it has a little clip on the top there. That needs to get popped up, and then you can pull it straight out. I'm gonna put the camera back. Try to. You can just use a little pick like this. Get in here. Pry up on it. And that pulls right off. ABS sensor. So Move this around here. Get it out of the way a little bit. So we got brake line is loose. All 4 of these nuts are off. What we can do is we'll pull this brake line, pull it out, and then reattach the wheel cylinder so we're not losing a bunch of brake fluid. And that'll give us a chance to put the new seal in and get this cleaned up. So we'll take that off. Again, that line is a 10 millimeter. And as soon as we get this off, try and reattach it just for the time being. See if there's any flex in this line. Give us some troubles. If not, we will just pull this axle off as quickly as we can. Alright, there we go. Our brake line is off. We'll just take a hammer, tap that out of there, and then reattach our wheel cylinder. And we'll retighten this up so it stops dripping everywhere. There we go. All right, so we are ready to pull this axle out now. I'm gonna reposition the camera here so you can get a better view. I've seen some people that can just pull this straight out, but this has been in here for a while. So we're gonna have to get our hammer out. Maybe I can do it from here even. Oh, there she goes. All right, we're gonna pull this axle out. Came off with one hit. Let's pull it straight out. Looks like our seal has a bad O-ring already pulled out of there. Explains why it was leaking. So we're gonna pull this out. And there's another part of this seal right there. All right, we're gonna lay this down. And I'll take a video here of this seal. All right, right here is our inner seal. That's what's been giving us troubles. Already fell apart as soon as I pulled the axle out. These are pretty easy to get out. There's also an O-ring right here that needs to be replaced as well. This pre-pressed axle assembly is real nice. It comes with a new seal and a new O-ring, which is nice. You don't have to think about running to the store to go get one. So I'm gonna grab my seal puller. We'll pull this old seal out. Seems like this side of the seal puller works better. Has a little bit more leverage there. But you just get it nice and hooked. The trick is we don't want to scratch anything on this inner race. So it's good to have an actual seal puller for this. So you're not damaging the axle housing itself. So you get some pressure on it and then just start popping it out with your hand. And that's it. Get some rags here to catch the oil that comes out. Wipe it out if you need to. What also can help is to have the side you're working on more elevated than the other side, and it'll keep the oil from running out of the axle tube here. So this is pretty dirty. So we'll get this cleaned up with some brake cleaner and a Scotch-Brite pad. We want this, especially where the O-ring sits, to be a lot cleaner. You can also use a die grinder with a little polishing disc and get this cleaned up, but you don't want to hit anything on this inner race here, just this main frame. So we'll just spray this down. Trying to get all the old oil residue. Get any rust chips off of here. Anything that's gonna increase the bearing or the seal from sealing properly. Get this cleaned up in here. Like I said, especially fluid spray with soft tape. Grab a rag here. Make sure the inside of this is nice and clean. Should be bone dry there. Don't want to get brake cleaner on the new seals. All right. There we go. Got that cleaned up. Get all this junk out of here. But I'm going to show a new video here. We'll compare the two, see the differences. Alright, so here we have our new pre-pressed axle assembly and the old one that we just took off. They're pretty much identical. You will notice that the new one does not come with an ABS sensor. If you look here on the back, you need to remove this ABS sensor and reinstall it where this new mount is at. Like I said, it comes with a new seal, a new dust O-ring. So you don't have to worry about getting that. Pretty good quality. This is really dusty for some reason. Must have been sitting around for a while. But yeah, there's the difference. There really is no difference. There shouldn't be. I guess the old one has these two flanges, whereas the new one does not. I don't think that makes any difference. All the holes are in the same spot. You have your parking brake cable that goes in there. The only difference from this one and the driver's side is the driver's side is on the left side of the parking brake cable. Other than that, I think the shoes are in a different spot too. But yeah, there's really no differences other than that, other than it being brand new. So we're gonna go put the seal in now. All right, so before we get our seal in, just wanna get one last wipe of this area. We're gonna take our seal here, and this goes gold side out. You don't wanna put it in this way. Gold side out. You shouldn't see this spring that presses in like this. So the trick to this is making sure that you start nice and square. You don't want to be going in crooked like that. They do make installation tools for this. I have one from another bushing that I did on the front differential that fits pretty well on this. So what you do is you lightly tap this just to get it started. Like I said, we want it to be nice and straight and even. Looks like the bottom is just a little kicked out. There we go. Yes, that's it. And then we just want to hold this on here. Tap it a little bit, see where we're at. Nice and calm, no need to rush this. Should start to sink inside of here. And you'll hear a distinct pinging noise when this seal sets in place because it's hitting the axle housing. That's how you can tell that it's fully in. Looks like it's just about flush with this inner angled section. But the key is just waiting for that pinging noise. You don't want to wail on it too hard, or you can deform the seal out here. Then we have our O-ring. Make sure you grab the new one. Don't want to put an old one on. You can go in and grab some oil out of the axle housing here just to get some lubrication on this. And this O-ring just serves as a dust ring on the outside here. And that sits right in there. And then you can take some oil and lubricate the seal as well. Doesn't hurt to make sure everything's got oil on it, ready for installation. Alright, I'm gonna get the old axle assembly and we will go from there. Alright, we're gonna disconnect our brake line now and remove this old wheel cylinder. And before you grab the new axle, you want to take the 4 flange nuts off of the studs. So we can just slide this right in, line the studs up with our holes here, and then we'll put on our new wheel cylinder and reattach the brake line right away. So we don't have a bunch of brake fluid leaking. So I'm going to disconnect this, we'll run and grab our axle assembly, and we can get this put back together. Alright, here we go. Got our new axle assembly. This just slides straight in. Try and avoid dragging it on your new seal if you can. Inside of there, feel it catch. It slides in just like that. Now you want to make sure that this is rotating the other side as well. We have our new wheel cylinder. That's going to slide right in here. We'll just reattach that with our 10mm. This will need to get bled afterwards. It's going to be kind of tricky sometimes with these line nuts. The line hasn't been in at all. Sometimes they don't want to line up exactly. And it can be real easy to strip the threads on them as well. Here. Let's get this line tightened back up. And before you do this, Make sure that the cap on your master cylinder stays on. That'll help keep some of the brake fluid held back. Just like putting your finger over a straw in a McDonald's cup. Alright, so we're going to get our two 10mm bolts back in the wheel cylinder here, and then we can finish tightening up the line here. Alright, wheel cylinder is in. Let's finish tightening this up. Make sure our line is back and tight. Now, you'll take these flange nuts and those go on the 4 studs in the back. I'll move the camera and we can get a better view of that. Alright, so we're going to install these flange nuts on the 4 studs back here. So you can just finger tighten these on. The new studs are great. And nuts go right on, no problems. And I looked it up and these torque to 50 foot-pounds, 50. So we'll grab our torque wrench here. We'll see if we can get the torque wrench on this nut next to the shock here. Alright, we got our torque wrench set and we can get it on. There's one. There's 2. And last one down here. There we go. Now it doesn't hurt to go back around and recheck your torque. Just to be sure these don't come loose. There we go. Torques to 50 foot-pounds. We can take our emergency brake cable and run that through the front again. That's going to press right back where it was, and then that bolts from the inside. Get those threaded in. Those are 10 millimeters. You can even just bump this with the impact very lightly. And that'll pull that little flange the rest of the way through there. And we can just tighten these up. They're very small bolts, so you don't want to go too far with this. Alright, and this is ready to put the brakes back on. Just make sure there's nothing binding here. Make sure there's no play in your axle. And we are set to go. So I'll show you how we can refill the differential, or I guess top it off. And so I'll adjust the camera and we'll get one final shot of that. All right, we're gonna top off our differential here. Helps to get a piece of cardboard or something. If you are working in your driveway like I am. This is a 24mm socket. The drain plug is right here if you want to change your fluid out. But to just top it off, we're just gonna pull this upper plug out. What I read is that these take like 4 1/4 quarts, but it should just be level to the bottom of this plug here, which allows the fluid to get over to the bearings and inside of the axle housing there. These little bottles are helpful. You can get it up in there and squirt it in. Depending how much fluid you lost from your seals, you might end up needing to put quite a bit back in here. It's gonna take a little while because of the spare tire being right here. You can't get the bottle fully tilted. But yeah, this is all you do. Very important to remember to do this, to be sure that you have oil going to your bearings and in the differential, or you'll have a world of problems. Alright, that is 1 quart down. I'm gonna refill the bottle and come back. Be careful not to overfill the bottle or you'll make a giant mess like I just did. But yeah, you'll just keep filling this up. I had both sides leaking, and earlier I popped the drain plug and there was very little oil remaining in this. So we're gonna probably end up putting the 4 quarts back into this. They also make little bag versions of these that you can squeeze into here. I prefer the bottle if you can get it. So I can't tell if I don't think it's full yet. I'm gonna refill the bottle again. I'll keep filling this up. You almost want to see the fluid start to run out of the plug here. And that's when you know it's back where it should be. Not to be mistaken with drops coming out. Refill this bottle again. Sometimes you can stick your finger in. We're getting pretty close there. how you tell that she's full. We'll grab our drain plug again. Get that sealed back up. If you'd like to, you can tilt these axles back and forth to be sure that you got oil going to both bearings, and refill as necessary. But since I already had oil in the axle housing, I'm not going to do that today. But that's how you top off your differential after replacing the pre-pressed axle assembly. Alright, before we start putting the brakes on, we also need to get our ABS sensor off of the old one. It looks like it's an 11 millimeter. However, it's extremely rusty. And that stripped out. Let's see if we can just get a 10 millimeter socket on this. Alright. It's it broke off the stud with the nut. Fortunately, I think if I grab my screwdriver and hammer, I can try it and pop this off of the stud that broke off. Fortunately, we replaced this axle housing, so it's not the end of the world that the stud broke off. However, I'm gonna have to find a new bolt for that. Looks like, oh yeah, so our sensor just broke as well, stuck in the old housing, unfortunately. That's how it goes sometimes. It's an old truck. So that's gonna need a new sensor as well. However, for the purpose of this video, seeing how I don't have a new sensor, I can take the camera around here and show you. Right here is where the sensor is going to go. The sensor itself goes into this hole, and then the new nut goes into that threaded spot. However, this sensor, it's broken off, no good, so we're gonna have to leave that for another day. But so far, this is the newly installed pre-pressed axle assembly, topped off with fluid. All that's left is to put our brake shoes back on. Alright, so we're here bleeding the brakes. I have my wife in the front that's going to help me keep pressure on the brake pedal. Just make sure your master cylinder is full. You don't want to run the master cylinder out of brake fluid, so keep an eye on that. Back here there's just a little rubber topper for the nipple on the bleeder valve. I have this little cup with a rubber adapter that'll catch the fluid that just pushes onto here. And then you just take a 10 millimeter wrench, crack this open, and you'll see fluid start to run in there. And we're just looking for air bubbles to stop coming from the wheel cylinder. So I'm gonna have her press on the brakes. We'll crack this open and bleed this wheel cylinder that we just replaced. All right, go ahead. I'm gonna crack that open. There you go, we got fluid running out. It's coming out there. Got a big air bubble come through. Let's crack this a little more. Keep on the eye for any contaminants coming out as well. Good to get rid of those. This whole time she's keeping pressure on the brake pedal, pushing the brake fluid out just a little bit at a time. And it looks like we have no more bubbles. So I'm gonna tighten this back up. And it's as simple as that. That is how you bleed the master cylinder that we took off. I'll come back and we'll do one final adjustment on the brakes now that they're seated in. And we'll put the wheels back on and this job is done. All right, now that we have the brakes bled, we can come back and check our brake adjustment. They definitely settled into place more than they were. And it looks like we need to adjust them a little further out. You just want to hear slight rubbing. They actually are pretty good. I think we need to loosen them just a hair. They might have been too tight previously. Couple clicks. All right, that's the sound we want to hear. So now we can put everything back together. We'll put our wheel spacer back on. We'll use our impact with a 19 millimeter just to snug these up. Now if you get this done and you see that your brakes need more adjustment, if the parking brake isn't holding very well, you can still adjust through the little port on this back side. Don't forget to put your cap back on your bleeder belt. But you can access the adjuster screw. The new pre-pressed axle did not come with a plug for this little port. I believe the old ones had them on there, so I'm gonna put those back on. I actually have it right next to me here. Comes with a little plug that goes in the back just to keep out road grime, salt, and get my impact. And we're gonna bottom these out with the impact. That'll help pull the drum on all the way. Very good. And these torque to, I believe it's 83 foot-pounds. I'm gonna grab my torque wrench real quick and we'll get these torqued up. For wheel spacers, it's helpful to have something to pry between a couple of the studs to be sure that not spinning. And we'll get our torque wrench on here. Helps if you put in the pry bar the right way. Rotate this. Boy, these are awfully tight. We have got it's a little too tight here. We can back that off. Find the ones that I didn't do. There we go. Just add one more here. It's this guy. Yep. There you go. Those are all torqued. Might just be the shoes sitting in there a little crooked. Help shift everything around a little bit. Should not be that stiff. Pull that little plug out. And learn. Drag, but not too much drag. Very good. Those are torqued.
So that's going to wrap it up for my review and the install. The 6-lug pre-pressed rear axle for the passenger side, fitting all 2005 through 2015 Toyota Tacomas. And you can find this right here at extremeframe.com.